There we go. Okay, right. So welcome to the pain management workshop. For those of you who don't know, I'm Leanne and I run Birthhood. I am a mum of two. I am a hypnobirthing teacher for the last couple of years. I am now a trained doula, so I'll be working with pregnant women and people and support them through all stages of their pregnancy and labour and postnatal, which is exciting. So if you've got any questions about that, feel free to let me know. Today we're going to talk about quite a few things around pain management, what options you've got, how you can manage your the pain, the expectation of what pain is, and we're going to go through lots of different tips and activities that you can do with your birth partner away from the session so that you can actually make use of this knowledge for your upcoming births. Okay, so first question is we're going to look at why we feel pain. So we feel pain for a number of reasons in general life. So if we injure ourselves, we feel pain because we need to send a signal to our brain to let us know to stop what we were doing. For example, if we break our leg, we need to know that we need to rest it. We need to not put pressure on it because there's that element of us that needs healing. Now, because parts of all of our bodies involve muscles, our muscles have receptors in them that help us send signals to our brain to let us know that there is something that's wrong that we need to address. Now, when it comes to birth, there's nothing wrong. Our birth is happening through a contraction of a muscle, which is our uterus. Now, as the uterus contracts, it is signaling a sensation to our brain to let us know that something's happening. Unfortunately for us, because we have pain receptors in our muscle, it tells us that we need to feel this sense of pain. Now, how we feel pain will be different for everybody, and it will be varied because it depends on how you are framing that pain in your mind and how relaxed your muscle is. So there's two parts of why we feel pain differently. So when you are scared about birth or scared about anything, our muscles become tense. And when a muscle is tense, we feel pain so much more. So I know, for example, for me, if I have a headache and I clench my jaw and I clench my fists, the pain that I feel, it amplifies because the muscles become tense. However, when I relax, I can help that pain go away. And it's the same when you go to the toilet and things like that. If you are a bit constipated and you sit on the toilet and you relax your bowels, you're more likely to go, because it's the same mechanism when we're in birth. If we are relaxed in our uterus, in our abdomen, we are more likely to allow that birth process to happen. Birth is physiological. It is it's autonomous. We don't actually have to do anything, and it's the similar response when we go to the toilet. So we do need to learn to understand how this relaxed muscle actually helps not only our birth process, but how much pain we feel. The other thing is that a muscle, when it is worked for a long time, you become fatigued, and when you become fatigued, that muscle tires, and when that muscle tires, you will tense naturally. So we've got to really, again, focus on that relaxation part to make that pain feel less scary, less intense. So we'll do a little activity. I'm not sure, you might, hopefully you can see a little bit of me in the corner of the box. But I want you to take your hand and I want you to tense it to make like a claw, as tense as you can. Put all that tension through it, and I want you to contract and relax that hand. And you can see that you're probably not going to be able to do that for a very long time. It doesn't feel very nice. It's really uncomfortable. And shake that out. And take the other hand, and if you contract and relax that, but keeping that hand completely relaxed, you'll feel you're doing exactly the same thing, but you can do this for a lot longer because there's no tension running through it. And because there's no tension, it doesn't hurt. It means that we're going to get tired a lot later on. And it means that the oxygen that's going to our muscles are going to be much more effective. And therefore our contractions are going to be more efficient. There is a little diagram on the screen of what the uterus looks like, and you can see that there are different muscles that run along that uterus. So we have muscles at the bottom here that cross over, and they're the muscles that are holding the baby in. And we have the muscles that go up the uterus, and these are our longitudinal muscles, and they draw up to help the uterus contract. So when the uterus contracts, those two muscles actually work together. So the ones that pull up, the longitudinal muscles, have to pull up, and the ones that are going across, our horizontal muscles, have to move out the way in order to draw up the cervix, to shorten the cervix and build the fundus at the top of the uterus. Now, because they're working together, if you're tense and the muscles at the bottom are holding and not opening because you're not in a safe space to give birth, your muscle will still contract, but it just won't release. So therefore, you're going to prolong that labour, and you're going to prolong the pain and the sensations you're feeling. We really need to think about the relaxation part of our mind and our body in order to make this process as easy and as physiological as possible. So there's kind of why we feel pain. And if we look at the big diagram in the middle, we're really looking at how these three components work together. Most of us go into birth with some apprehension, with some anxiety, with some fear of the unknown. And if you've already had a baby, you might have had, didn't mean to do that. You might have had a negative experience, or you might just have had a positive one, but remember that there was that element of kind of like pain. Now, the pain is going to get worse the more scared you are. So we've really got to focus on releasing those fears around birth. So obviously we're going to look at in a couple of sessions time at affirmations, but affirmations are one of the ways we need to release it. But learning about birth and understanding that it is safe is the best way kind of you to release that fear, because when we are fearful, our body tenses. It's life-saving. I'm not going to go into the science too much behind it, but we become scared and it's fearful and it saves our life. But unfortunately, that is what causes our muscles to tense the most. Two key areas that I'm going to give you in terms of helping release tension for birth is your jaw and your hands. If you can release tension in your jaw, so always think when you're in labour, is my jaw clenched? So birth partners, look for that tension in the jaw, unclench your jaw, and open out your hands. Have soft hands, palms open, because those are the two biggest tension points that will release through the pelvis to help your uterus. So a nice little top tip there. Any tension that you feel, however, will cause your muscles to send signals to your brain to say that there's a bit of pain there because you're a bit tense. And those pain receptors will keep firing because your muscles are still tense. When your brain feels pain, we are programmed to be scared because it will trigger a response in us to release adrenaline to help us kind of like fight or flight, help us save our lives, get out of there. And then unfortunately, they're all overlapping, and this becomes a really not very nice cycle, which is really hard to break. So as I said before, making sure you know as much about the birth process, release as much fears as you can. Kind of that's the best way to remove that tension and ease that pain. So there's your kind of like first bit around why we feel pain and how you can start to unpick those kind of like fears, understand how tension impacts our uterus. We want it to be as relaxed as possible to be more efficient, and therefore it will reduce the pain that you feel. Now, obviously, this is about pain management. So we really want to break down what options you've got in order to improve kind of the sensations that you feel. One of the other things you can do that I've not put on there is language. And that's how we talk about birth will kind of like make what we feel about birth more intense. So instead of using things like words like contractions and it's painful, think about your comfort levels instead. Think about using the word surge or wave, because that's exactly what a contraction does. It peaks and troughs. So that can change exactly how you feel about the word about contractions in the first place, which will alleviate some of that tension. So you can see on the screen that we have got two types of pain management mechanisms. We have our natural pain management and our pharmaceutical. The first thing I want to say about all of these is that aside from Entonox, you can use all of these natural ones wherever you are. Entonox you can also use wherever you are. And these ones are the ones that you can only use in a hospital setting. So when a lot of us think about kind of place of birth, we often think about, well, if we're in a hospital or a birth centre, we've got much more pain relief on pain management options. Completely not true. We actually have more pain. We have our natural mechanisms that we can use wherever we are, and actually going to hospital for pharmaceutical pain management only offers us a few extra tools. Now, yes, these extra tools are going to be provide really quite strong pain management, but there are obviously more side effects from those that we're going to go through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of pick out the key aspects of all of these different pain management options. So if you feel free to make some notes to kind of like help you decide which ones you might want to use, and we've got a little activity that I'd suggest you kind of go away and do on the next slide. So the first thing I'll talk about is breathing. Breathing is really important. We need oxygen for our muscles. I'm really sorry, I'm dead tickly today with my chest. We need oxygen for our muscles, for our uterus to work. Breathing also has a number of impacts on our body. Slows our heart rate, encourages oxygen to our muscles, to our brain. It soothes our central nervous system. It helps calm anxiety. There's so many things that breathing helps us to do. There are a number of techniques you can use in birth. There's 3 that I teach on a course. I'm going to teach you one today. The one I'm going to teach you today is called up breathing. It's really good for that throughout birth. So not the pushy phase, everything else in between. And it's really simple and easy. Some hypnobirthing teachers will kind of get you to count. I say you don't need to count, just think long and slow. So with your breathing, you're going to breathe in through your nose to the top of that breath. So we're thinking how the contraction builds to the top, and then peaks and then drops. We want to be doing kind of like mirroring that with our breath. So really long and slow in through our nose, relaxed jaw to the top, and then don't hold your breath. But when you get to the top, breathe out through a relaxed jaw, relaxed mouth. Now, the amazing thing about breathing is because it controls so many parts of our body, it enables our body to kind of work more efficiently, but also it gives us a complete distraction tool. So I know during my birth, anytime I had a contraction, I just breathed. And then in between contractions, I distracted myself with pretty much anything, but I knew I could cope with anything that was happening during my contractions because I wasn't focusing on the pain or anything like that. I was just focusing on my breath. I had nothing else to think about at that time, and I just breathed as calmly and deeply through it. And obviously you can use this breathing tool all the time, and you can use it wherever you are. Second one is massage. So massage techniques are amazing, again, for distraction, but for also building oxytocin. So oxytocin is our hormone, which basically causes our contractions. It's a shy hormone. It's known as love hormone. We release it when we feel happy and safe. We release it when the environment is dark, when there's limited conversation. And so we need to really maximize oxytocin throughout the lead up to birth and birth. And massage is something that does that. Massage will also help increase our endorphins, which is our natural pain relief hormone. So again, we really want to focus on that. So a really nice technique is starting at the base of the spine. And you can either do backs of your hands for a more vertically kind of massage, or hands on forward. And you're going to basically massage up the spine and branch out at different points along the back. And when you get to the top of the shoulders, you will rub down the shoulders and release the energy out at the elbows. And you just keep doing this. Obviously, this is for a birth partner or a doula to help you with this. It's free. There's no negative side effects unless you literally like piss off, you do my head in, which is pretty much how I felt at times. But yeah, your massage is something that is a really easy tool for you to feel comforted, for you to release endorphins and oxytocin. And it's just something that's nice to kind of help you relax. So massage is a great one. Again, you can use it anywhere. You can use massage as well, even through a cesarean. So if you're in theatre, you can use massage just along your arm. So literally a stroking technique down your arm is a really nice thing just to help you relax and feel safe. Okay, anchoring. Now this is linked kind of to our senses, and it's a way for us to, again, release oxytocin. And if we anchor positivity to smells, if we anchor our relaxation to things like smells, things we like to taste, things that make us feel safe to touch, like a blanket or a baby grow, or something that you can kind of go, baby's going to be in this. It's a nice way to kind of get you in that positive frame of mind. And again, it's all about our mindset. We need to release fears. And if we can feel positive, that's going to help reduce the pain that we're feeling, because we're going to be less tense. One of the key things, and this is linked obviously to aromatherapy, but it's like a roller ball. So a smell. Now I can smell this straight away just by smelling it. I can put it on like a pulse point and smell it. But for me, anchoring with smells was one of the best things. So when I was doing any practice for my birth, breathing, affirmations, I'd always put a smell on. So anytime I smelt that, I would instantly relax. And I am 8 years past my first birth, and I'm just over 4 years of my second birth. And every time I smell this, and I smell lavender, I instantly relax. So it's a lifelong thing of relaxation. And again, more relaxed we are, the better our contractions will be, the more efficient everything's going to be. So anchor with your favorite foods, your favorite images. So if you've got pets or other children or loved ones, sorry, or affirmations, you read those. And around your birth, have those images up, so when you look at them, you smile, you feel happy. One of my anchors that I've actually got in front of me is it's actually a card from a client, and it's a really nice thing, but every time I look at it, it makes me smile. So again, you can have similar things like that. Okay, so again, linking a bit to the anchoring is aromatherapy. Now, aromatherapy is something that's actually kind of designed to be smelled, to either diffuse or use as like on pulse points in a carrier oil. Now I use someone called Take 5 aromatherapy for all of my aromatherapy needs, personally and through my clients. I recommend her. Her name's Kirsty, because she actually is so knowledgeable about it, and it's a small independent business. And I think what she actually provides, she is a package that you can use in your pregnancy, birth, and postnatally. And aromatherapy is a really good tool to help you relax. So the key thing is relaxation. Okay, someone has just joined. I'm just going to let them in. So it obviously acts as a relaxation for us for aromatherapy. Has to be used regularly to kind of like build that up, but they're also uterine tonics. So basically, they help soothe, some of them obviously help soothe our uterus. Lavender is one of the key ones that I would recommend, often mixed with other things, because lavender can be quite kind of like a rich, strong smell that can be a little bit sickly. So things to mix in, things like rose or geranium, frankincense, those sort of smells are really good, and they're all pregnancy safe. But clary sage is also a good one. You don't use clary sage throughout pregnancy, but you will use it through your labour, because it is something that helps uterine contractions, but they can cause an overcontraction of the uterus. So you need to be careful when you're using them, and make sure you seek advice. But you can get rollerballs. So if you just put a little bit on, the key pulse points for your rollerballs for aromatherapy are your wrists, behind your ears, and just the inside of your ankles. So they're your kind of like 3 pulse points. You can smell them easily here, but the inside of your ankle is a pulse point for your, if you do anything to do with reflexology, your pulse point to your uterus. So key things. But other nice ones are rose, like rose, geranium, and neroli are also nice aromatherapy oils, pregnancy safe, and really nice for relaxation. So can't recommend aromatherapy enough. But the instant relaxation I feel when I smell those smells will help relax my muscles, reduce tension. And again, going back to that first slide, less tense we are, more efficient our birth is, the less pain we're going to feel. Okay, next one, water. We can use water anywhere, believe it or not. You might go to your birth setting and they say, unfortunately, we don't have access to water for you today because there's no birth pools available. I call BS on that. They always have showers. They all have baths. They cannot legally stop you getting in water. So even if they say you are not allowed to get in water for whatever reason, that is bull. You are allowed to get in water. If you want to get in water, you can get in water. They cannot stop you. Huge myth buster there. But water is amazing at making you feel weightless. It's a comfort measure. The warmth helps soothe your perineum. It's a lovely way for your baby to go from the uterus and the amniotic sac through into the water. Nice way for them to be kind of like born from warmth to warmth. The thing is with water is, for most of us, when we want to relax, we get in a bath. Because if we want to relax, it's a really, really good thing for you to kind of jump in on. Showers, if you've not got a bath, are amazing, because showers where the water trickles on your back, it will help stimulate your endorphins. So massage stimulates your endorphins, so does water, that trickly effect. I don't know if any of you have ever been ill, but you'll probably have. You get in the shower after you've been ill, and that water just, whatever, it just makes you feel a bit better. So water has a huge impact for us on birth, and it's safe. There's no negative things with water, apart from unless the water's too hot or too cold. So you've got to make sure if it's too cold, you don't get in, or you get out, or you withdraw the water, put some more warm water in, because we don't want to constrict the capillaries around our skin, because that's not good for you or the baby. And if it's too hot, it can cause you to overheat. So we want to make sure it's just above kind of like normal body temperature. Around 38 degrees is perfect. Okay, acupressure. This is where a nice prop comes in. My Toni and Guy brush, comb. So I was talking to someone the other day on Instagram about this, because she was like, what, that actually works? Yes, it actually works. A couple of ways it works. You use a comb in your hand, and it needs to go in this kind of like padded area on your hand. I'm hoping you can kind of see that there. And you basically just squeeze a comb into that area. You don't need to, this has probably got a bit too many combs, and you get smaller ones, obviously, depending on how big your hands are. But you just basically want to, during a contraction, kind of use that into your hand. Now, what this does is it triggers kind of your pressure points, which help stimulate a response in your brain to release endorphins. So it's, again, there's quite a bit of research into acupressure. I don't know if anyone's ever done anything like, why is my mind gone blank? What's it called? Your needles in your back. Why is my mind gone completely?
Acupuncture.
Acupuncture, thank you. So things like that. It's all about kind of releasing tension, and it's helped by releasing endorphins. So a comb in the hand. The other thing with this, it's a distraction technique. So if you're focused on this, you are not focusing on the contractions that you might be having. And again, distraction is one of your key pain management. And it's on there. It's one of your key pain management techniques. So yeah, feel free to look into that a bit further and get yourself a little comb. Movement. Move with your body. Whatever position your body feels comfortable in, move. It's going to help. You're probably doing that for a reason. So whether that is kind of moving in on all fours, onto your side, sitting upright, leaning forward, swaying. One of my clients recently literally said she just stood at a bed. She had like a baby gate at the bottom of the stairs, and she just swayed. She was like, because that movement, and she had one foot up on the step and one foot down. Now, uneven movement is really good for getting baby into your pelvis. So having an uneven footstep and swaying is getting your baby nice and deep. So movement's really, really useful. And it's a comfort measure. I know if I stood still for too long, if I was on my knees, it'd get sore, but if I swayed, it was taking the pressure off different parts of my body and it was making me feel more comfortable. Some people love moving around, some people like being still. You go with whatever you feel, but the more movement we do, the more we're encouraging our baby into a better position for birth, and it's going to hopefully speed things up. Being on your back and being stagnant is going to reduce kind of like things like gravity, the space in the baby's the space in your pelvis for your baby. So we want to try and make sure we are as active as possible. That doesn't mean going for a walk around everywhere. That literally just means not staying in one position for more than about 10 minutes. So allowing your body just to move to what it's comfortable in. Okay, counter pressure. Here's another one for your birth partner. So counter pressure is where you would do things like hip squeezes, and you would put your hands on either side of the pelvis and you will squeeze as the contractions come in, and squeeze through that contraction. So it's about a minute of that counter pressure. The other place you do it on the back is the bottom of their back. I don't know if you can see this, but we have our sacrum in the middle, and then we have our two areas of the pelvis just here, and you'll see them on the back of your partner's back, and you literally put the pressure on there with two hands, and it is quite a bit of pressure. Go with the guidance that your partner gives you, but you push into that into the pelvis against your partner, and you do this during a contraction. It's a really nice way to help release kind of the pressure that's building up in the pelvis. When you're having a contraction, there's quite a lot of tension where the baby is on coming down and in the wall of the vagina, and it just helps counter that a little bit and release some of the tension that's there. I adored counter pressure in the lower part of my back during my birth. It's a really nice way. So you're kind of like kneeling over something, and that pressure on the back or on all fours is a great way to do that. But it's about releasing endorphins. It's about releasing the pressure. So it's a nice easy thing to do to help that pain. Most of my colleagues who work with kind of their doula clients have found that everyone pretty much asks for some sort of counter pressure. So it's a really good way to do. Your midwife can do it for you. You can ask them for some counter pressure. So get them involved as well. Give your partner a break, because they're going to need a break as well. Okay, heat and cool. This can help in different parts of our body. So you can use heat on our perineum. We can use heat on our tops of our shoulders to release some tension there. You can have heat on the bottom of our backs to release tension. So heat in a shower, heat in the water, whatever. But that heat generally relaxes us. Equally, if we get too hot, we want to kind of cool down a bit. So a fan's really good to kind of help you again, just cool down a bit. Sometimes when we get too hot, our heart rate increases, and that can cause us to go to a bit panicky and then release adrenaline. We don't want adrenaline, we want oxytocin. So again, you making sure you feel as comfortable as possible is going to help you be as relaxed as possible and release the tension. So again, heat and cool is a really good thing. Going back to the perineum, a lot of people are worried about tearing. So having a heat, like a warm cloth on your perineum during kind of crowning, can help reduce tearing. So again, that's another mechanism to, one, help the pain that's felt there, but also help reduce tearing if that's something you might be concerned of. Tearing is quite normal, but again, not too severe. Distraction techniques, I realised just looked at their anchoring is on there twice, so that's my error. I'm clearly like that a lot. But distraction is key. In terms of pain management, the more you can focus on anything but the pain that you're feeling, the better that's going to be. The more you focus on the pain, the more pain you're going to feel, because remember, you're going to tense, you're going to feel the pain more, you're going to become scared, you're going to tense, and it ends up in that cycle. Whereas if we're not thinking about the pain you're feeling, you're not going to feel it as much. And for me, my distraction tools were my hypnobirthing MP3s, my affirmations, watching crap TV that make me laugh, having my husband there talking to me, having some snacks, talk like anything that you want that's good for you to distract. So I've had clients who played Uno between contractions. I've had clients that have watched things like RuPaul. I've listened to different podcasts. Anything that's going to take your mind off what's happening between contractions. During the contractions, you breathe and you focus on that. But anything to distract you is going to stop you from feeling tense and scared, and therefore it's all going to be minimizing that kind of like pain that you're feeling. And this might sound a load of like rubbish, but I can guarantee the clients that, like for myself and my clients, distraction is one of the key things that make the biggest difference for your breath. I'm going to ignore anchoring because we already talked about it. TENS machine. So what a TENS machine is 2 pads on the bottom of your back that send painless impulses like through electrodes from the pads up your central nervous system. So what that does, it soothes your central nervous system and helps relieve some of the pain. So our central nervous system is what travels our pain signals from the different parts of our body to our brain. Now what this does is help kind of soothe it. Therefore it's not sending the signals as much, so it's reducing the pain that you feel. You can't use this in water. It's obviously it builds your endorphins, so it's really good to use at the start, like early labour, kind of not too early, or talking established, but in the early stages, and then let them build up endorphins. But most people don't like it towards the end, so it's usually something that's used in the earlier stage. But it's really good to kind of minimise that tension you're feeling, to release through those contractions in the early stage. But as I said, you can't use it if you want to use water, because obviously it uses electrodes, so we need to kind of keep them away. But I have quite a few clients that love TENS machine. So it's something to explore. There's no major cons for it other than the fact you have to hire that, and it's obviously a bit of a cost. And you can buy them and you can use them post-birth as well. They're good for any after-birth pains, and they're good for any muscular tension, for any other things as well. So TENS machine's really good for that early phase. And the last one in the natural aspects is hypnosis. Now, this is where your hypnobirthing comes in terms of some of aspects of hypnobirthing you might be aware of. This isn't you going with a clock and falling into a deep state of relaxation or clucking like a chicken or anything like that. This is you using guided meditation to reframe your thoughts. So again, we're coming back to that fear thing. We're always going to keep coming back to that, because that's the main reason we feel the most pain during birth. Unless you're having an induction, and then that's something very different. But what hypnosis does, it reframes your brain, but it also gives you a distraction. It also is causing you to relax. And when you're relaxed, you're going to feel less tension through the body. I use my hypnobirthing tracks throughout my pregnancy from about 24 weeks, I think, actually, all the way through. And then during birth, I listened to the backing track of it because it was enough to get me into a relaxed state. And when I needed that little bit extra support, I put my affirmation tracks on alongside it to give me that little bit of a boost to help me with my kind of like mindset, help me feel as relaxed as possible. So hypnosis has no negative. You're always going to be aware. You're not going to be like in a state where you're not responsive. You can come in and out of it quite quick. It does take a bit of practice, so it's something you might want to think about investing in terms of a hypnobirthing course, or a kind of buying some hypnobirthing tracks to help use them. But the practice is the key thing there. I couldn't have got through as calmly as I did with my birth without my MP3s. It was a huge distraction and a huge relaxation method. So there's that. So there's all your natural pain management things. Can't think of the word I'm looking for, but you can use them everywhere. If we go down to the pharmaceutical, then these ones, apart from Entonox, can only be used in a hospital setting. So we've got Entonox, used everywhere. It's a mixture of oxygen and nitrous oxide, and it is self-administered. You breathe it. It releases that gas through your body to help kind of like minimize the pain that you're feeling. It's a fairly good level of pain relief, but it will not remove all of it. I've got clients who absolutely rave about gas and air, absolutely loved it. And I've got other clients, and including myself, who it wasn't for them. Because some of the side effects are things like nausea, or like causing you to feel like you're hallucinating. That doesn't happen to everybody. And it wears off quickly, so that's a good thing and a bad thing. So sometimes you need to use it a bit more regularly, but there's no risk to the baby with Entonox. If you're at home, your midwives will bring 2 canisters, so you're unlikely to run out. And if you're in a hospital setting, it's there continuously, so it's quite good. And because it's self-administered, and some people say, well, I'm not allowed to use it till I'm at this point. You can use it whenever you like. There is nothing to stop you using it whenever you like, for as long as you like. So Entonox is something that is pharmaceutical, no major harm to you or the baby, can cause a bit of sickness, a bit of nausea, but again, it's one of the things you might have to try to see if that works for you. Epidural then is something that a lot of people don't choose a home birth because it's the thing, what if I want an epidural? Now, if you look at this, there's so many other things you can try to reduce your pain before you get to an epidural. So the chances of you needing one are very low if you're looking for that kind of comfortable home birth experience. There's so many other things you can try before you need in that. I've not had any clients that have had to transfer in because they wanted an epidural in a home birth. So it's not something if you want an epidural, go for it. But if it's something that's putting you off, kind of have a think about the pros and cons of what you can do where, and why you really might want that epidural. Because what an epidural is basically a little tube that gets inserted into your back. It goes alongside your like next to your spine, and it goes in the little membranes aside of your central nervous system. So it doesn't actually go in there. What it does is it's like a local anesthetic, and it will numb you from the waist down. It won't, for some people, it doesn't cause complete like numbing. For some people, there's still a little bit of mobility, and you can get now in some trusts mobile epidurals, so it means you've got a bit more movement of your lower body. If you have an epidural, it means that you are usually on a bed because you have limited movement. An epidural has, there is lots of evidence to show that an epidural slows down labour. However, because it causes almost complete pain relief, lots of people like that because it means they can sleep and they can rest. And if that gives them a bit of a break before then that wears off, and it takes about 2 to 4 hours for that to kind of wear off, then not necessarily come out of your system, but the pain relief, it will stop working as a pain relief, but it's still having its system, so you still have some numbness for a little bit longer. But yeah, it's something that you might rest and then continue your birth without it, or you can top that up. And they leave the little tube in your back so they can keep topping the epidural up if you want to. Now, the thing is with an epidural, if you have it too late, it's not obviously going to work in time. So you've got a window where it might not be suitable. I have had clients that were adamant that they wanted an epidural and they thought it was the best thing ever, and it gave them a chance to enjoy their birth experience. So it's something that you need to kind of like really consider, but it does mean that your environment you will be in an obstetric unit, so it'll be on a labour ward. So really think about your environment for that. So how are you going to make your environment much more comfortable? So low lighting, have your affirmations around still, fairy lights, things like that. Make your environment your own, so that you feel a bit more comfortable. So then pethidine and diamorphine I'm going to talk about together because they are excuse me, pretty much the same thing. They're part of the morphine family, and they are injected into our thigh, so they're intravenous. What they do is they provide quite quick pain relief. They're very strong and it relaxes you. Lasts around 2 to 4 hours. It's not advised you have them if you're about to give birth within a couple of hours because it has impacts on the baby. So things like drowsiness, difficulties breathing, like a floppy baby is quite common with those as a side effect if you have it too close to your baby being born. But it's a good pain relief option in that pharmaceutical setting. You can have pethidine and diamorphine at home. You just need to have a prescription. So you can get your midwife or your GP or a consultant to prescribe that, and they will bring that with them. Otherwise, you would need to be in a hospital setting where they can get that pretty much on tap. And again, thinking about where you are, the more comfortable you are, the less likely you're going to need something like that. But obviously, again, think about those comfort mechanisms. Other things with pethidine is it can cause you a little bit of sickness and a bit like kind of feeling a bit out of it. So it's something that some people might not like if they want to have a bit more control over their birth. Then the last one in the pharmaceutical is remifentanil. So this is only available in some trusts. I don't know where your trusts are around the country, so it's something you would need to ask your midwife if they have. This is part of the morphine group as well, and it is a really strong pain relief, and this goes through a drip in your hand. And basically you press, self-administered, you press the button to have that increased. It works very quickly. Research suggests it's safe, but it's not been used across all trusts, so we've not got a full background on it. Because you're in control of it being administered, you can keep topping up as much as you like, which is quite good, and it is quickly removed from the body, so it doesn't take long to wear off. It can cause things like sleepiness, itchiness, sickness, so those normal things with a morphine and labour are quite common, but it can also cause shortness of breath, so you will be given oxygen as a top up to help you with this. So again, if you're thinking about that comfortable environment, this might not be for you because you've got other things at play that you might need to kind of consider. But yeah, these are your pain relief options pretty much generally. I don't think I've missed any, but if you've got any other questions that you've heard about, please let me know, and I can kind of discuss them with you. Some things that I want you to go away and consider is doing a pro and con activity with your partner or with somebody you trust, where you think about the pain relief options that you have looked at, or your midwife might have discussed with you, or you've read about, and look at the pros and cons. I've gone through, but research, look into it. The more informed you are, the better you can make decisions on that time, and then you can put these on your birth plan because you'll know what you really want and what you don't. For example, if you kind of like don't like the idea of being having no movement, and that's something that kind of makes you feel uncomfortable, then an epidural would be a con. And then if that is like it's something that you go really can't bear that, then an epidural will be out of it. Similarly, if you worry, if one of the cons of pethidine is that it makes the baby drowsy, and you might, because birth isn't linear and you had it and then your birth came quite quickly, then although it relaxes you, which is a pro, if it's going to cause baby to become a bit lethargic and that worries you, it might be something you want to consider. So have a real good think about what it is that you want for your birth and which one of the pain management, which pain management is going to offer you that. All the things that I want you to think about are kind of on here. So we'll start with who will be with me. So one of the key things is to think about when you're choosing your pain is who's going to be with you, because if you've got a birth partner who you trust, who's really supportive, who's going to advocate for you, or if you've got a doula or a parent, make sure that they're all on the same wavelengths of what you want and what you don't want. Because then they can support you, because the more comfortable and supported you feel, the better that experience is going to be for you. So who's going to be with you? If it's going to be a parent who's going to be it's going to be uncomfortable seeing you in pain, is going to be offering you pain relief left, right and centre that you didn't want, then they might not be the best person to be with you. But if you want them with you, explain with them the pros and cons of those pain managements that you are opting for, so they're fully on board with what that is. And kind of like really think about how they will impact how you feel for your birth, because if you feel uncomfortable with them being there, then that will impact kind of the fear that you're feeling, the tension you're feeling, and that's going to impact your birth. When will you want it? At what point might you want to use different pain relief? So you know that I will tell you now, your contractions don't get more painful, they just get more intense because they are closer together and they last longer. So the contractions you feel at the start of your labour is the same contractions you'll feel at the end. It's just that at the start they're short, they don't last very long, and they're far apart. But when they're like coming every 2 to 3 minutes and they're lasting for a minute, it's intense. So at what point will you need different pain management? So kind of you're not going to go straight away after my first contraction, let's get the epidural in, because that's going to be unnecessary. It's going to wear off by the time, it'll slow things down. So you've got to think, what can I do to maximize my birth experience in the early, so my breathing, my aromatherapy, some massage, water. And then I might think towards kind of when I'm in established labour, things are a bit, I'm getting contractions, 3 in 10 minutes, we'll crack on the gas and air then, because actually, but remember, you can change this whenever you like. It's not set in stone. It can be fluid, and you can decide what you want when you want it. And having things like a code word to go, if I say this, it means I really want it, then your partner can be on board with you. So you might be going epidural, 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 but you don't really want it. But your code word for epidural is, I don't know, skyscraper. And you say skyscraper, and your partner goes, right, she's serious now, let's get this. These two at the bottom come hand in hand. So what benefits are there to you and the baby, your environment, whatever, and what risks are there? If you have a particular complication in your pregnancy, and when certain things pose risks, make sure you have a conversation with your consultant, with your midwives, in terms of any risks to pain relief that you're thinking about to you or your baby. So it might be that an epidural could cause XYZ to you because you've got a neurological disorder. Well, if you've not had that conversation, you've not really understood that, you might be asking for it, and that could cause more complications. So you need to be sure. And the problem is sometimes we don't always get given the full picture. So it's important that you take control of these and ask the questions and make sure you're happy with what you're kind of getting out. And also think, what benefits are there? Yes, I might be completely numb with an epidural, and that's amazing. And I'll be able to get some sleep. And so when you're doing your pros and cons, these two questions are really important. So not only the pros and cons, but are there actually any benefits for you? Because they're the things that are going to make you feel better about your birth and more comfortable. And that's what's going to make that pain feel, the whole experience feel better. So these things I'd suggest you really have a consideration over. What do my instincts say? Now, your instincts tell us so much about who we are, what we need throughout our whole life. But when it comes to birth, for whatever reason, we hand over our instincts to our healthcare providers willy-nilly. We just like, you're the in charge, you know more than me, tell me what I need, when in fact you will probably know what feels comfortable to you and right for you. So someone coming in and saying, oh, should we get this on there, and your instinct's going, not ready, but your healthcare provider suggested it, you're going to go, okay, they must think they know more than me, they must think I need that, so you're more likely to go. If your instincts are saying, no, I don't need that yet, no, that doesn't feel right, or they offer you something and you're going, no, I don't want that, or yes, I really want that, what is it telling you on the inside? Like for me, my instincts, my real personal instincts was that I didn't want pethidine. That was just me. So I knew that was something that I kind of stood by, because I was like, there's something telling me that's not right for me, so I am kind of going to do that. And equally, if your instincts are telling you that you'd be more comfortable and you're going to get a much better birth experience if you go to a birth setting where you can have these more pharmaceutical drugs, and that's going to make you feel more comfortable, you kind of like do that, which then links to the last one of where am I birthing. So where you birth has a massive impact on how you feel, and how you feel has an impact on whether you feel anxious, tense, and therefore impact the pain that you're feeling. The more comfortable you are, the less pain it's going to be. So if that's at home, be at home. If that's at home for most of the labour, but you don't want to birth there, that's you stay at home for as long as possible, because you're going to feel, most of us feel really safe on things like the loo, because it's usually secluded. You can't get a load of people in there. You're either on your own or with your birth partner. It's called the dilation station, actually, because most people kind of go there and relax naturally. Again, your pelvic floor releases, because when you sit on a toilet, that's what happens. So you're actually making a really nice, actual weird environment for yourself on the loo. So you get, and if that's where you're comfortable, kind of like go there and then think, well, this is where I'm most comfortable, what can I have here, because that's where I'm most comfortable, and then that'll help you draw out which pain management techniques you actually want to use. If you are going to a birth centre, it's going to mimic what you've got at home a lot, but you are in the more of a remit of a hospital setting. So therefore, if things start to change, you're going to be you'll go to the labour ward quite quickly. And things like food that make you feel more comfortable, there'll be limits on things like who you can have there. So you've got to think about, where am I birthing? What can I get there? What's going to make that experience better for me? So here's some questions that I suggest you really have a think about, because that will help you choose what pain management techniques that you have. And the last thing I'm going to share with you is my biggest tip. And my biggest tip is that no one offers you pain relief, you ask for it. So you put that on your birth plan, that you don't want to be offered pain relief. If you want it, you will ask for it. You know what you want. You've had a thought about that already, but you are not going to, you don't want to be offered it, because if you're offered it, you're more likely to accept it. And then you're kind of on a cascade of interventions, if you like, at that point. If you want it, absolutely go for it, and you can ask for it, but it means that you're not going to be on a conveyor belt of more drugs to follow because you've had something. Now, unfortunately, the reason I'm saying this is because sometimes you are offered pain relief because it will knowingly slow birth down. So if you're in a hospital setting and the labour was particularly busy, and they offer you something that they know is going to slow things down a bit for you, it means they've got more time because of staffing shortages. It's not their fault. It's just something that's in place to help them manage how many birthing people have got on the ward. But it's something that you need to consider. Is this something that you want? Then make sure you put on your birth plan that you do not want to be offered it, and you're more likely to be accepting of it if somebody else offers you it than actually if you really want it. So that is the end of the pain management. I'm just going to stop the recording before we ask questions, because I don't want it if anyone asks anything personal. Stop it.